simultaneously on two trains. So the 10th chapter is Mr. Marvel's visit to IP. See, in the ninth chapter, Griffin comes to the introduction, or he consults, or Thomas Marvel and Griffin, they both become friends. And Griffin, he shares everything about his life, why he has become invisible, what made him to be invisible, and what his next procedure. Okay. So here he takes the help of Thomas Marvel to go to the village Iping because he has forgotten his important notes which have been manually written by Griffin himself. Okay. So here, as I have told you that the whole Iping village was busy in the festive Monday, okay, because the Monday, it was a festive Monday. So the whole Iping village was very busy, and they have forgotten everything about, slightly they have started forgetting everything about the Griffin, a strange man, and also the strange incidents which have been taken place after the presence or the residence of Griffin in the place called Iping. Okay. So now the initial panic in Iping is over. Panic means a tension or an anxiety. Okay. So now that the initial panic in Iping is over, people in the village start arguing. Many are skeptical that Griffin is actually invisible. This skepticism is stoked by the fact that Jeffers remains laying silent and motionless. Okay, so skepticism or the skepticism is, it means that doubtful. Okay, skeptic means doubts. Okay, or the doubtful actions. So many are skeptical. That means many have doubts that. Okay, skeptical means doubts. Many have skeptical or many have doubts that Griffin is actually invisible. So many of them, they started doubting that Griffin is actually invisible. Means he doesn't have body, he doesn't have any physical appearance, he doesn't have physical touch, anything. Okay. So this skepticism is stoked by the fact that Jafar remains laying silent and motionless. It made a little more, energetic, or it paid the heavy weightage to the words because they, Jefferson, I mean Bobby Jefferson, who was a policeman and had come to arrest Griffin, he remains laying silent and motionless. So his actions may made people to think that Griffin is actually invisible. And later, Iping has been decorated for Whit Monday, as I have explained you in the last classes, that Iping village was waiting for the Whit Monday, okay, and everybody is dressed up, okay. So it was a festive day for them, like how the fair will be there, Jatre will be there in the every villages. In the same day, in the same way, Whit Monday was there in the Iping village. So in the Iping village, it was a festive day, hence everybody dressed themselves very well. As the day progresses, everyone gradually turns their attention back to the festives, even as a silent uneasiness remains in the atmosphere. See, though it is a silent uneasiness, I mean, though it is a strangeness for everybody to accept the reality in the atmosphere or in the society, but it was duty, or it was the routine of everybody that they have returned their attention back to the festives. So for example, now the corona pandemic is going on. Okay, since 2 years we are suffering from this coronavirus pandemic, but have we left making of any festives or festivals? Okay, we have done Deepavali, we have done Ganesh Chaturthi, everything, and even including the marriages too, even my marriage including in that. Okay, so nothing has been stopped, even though it has come to at the at the end of torture, okay, or at the end of irritation. So here, in the same way, though the society or the whole Iping village might be scared, or it might be disturbed by the strange actions and the strange residence of this strange man, it never hit them, okay, or it never made them to disturb. They gradually return their attention back to their festives, even as, okay, in the middle of that, there was a slight uneasiness remains in the atmosphere. Means there was a slight disturbance, it was remained in the atmosphere. Okay. So later, just a second, I will change the slide, move to the next slide. Okay. So it was 4 p.m. in the morning. A stranger arrives in Nairobi. So the stranger name was Thomas Morwell. It was 4 p.m. in the evening. There comes a stranger to the place called Iping, and he was Thomas Morwell. He heads straight for the coach and horses, looking agitated. Inside, he tries to open the door to Griffin's room before Hall shouts, "The room is private." Mr. Huckster sees the Marvel standing outside smoking as the parlor window opens. Okay, so what happened here? Thomas Marvel, okay, now he is a strange man because he is not familiar to anyone. Why? So this Marvel, he comes to the Iping village. There, he heads, means he goes to take a horse and a coach on a rent, because now we have the concept of cab or the car and the auto rickshaws for our travelings. But then it was the only, I know, the mode of communication or the mode of transportation was the coach of horses. Okay, so he immediately coming after the Iping, he jumps to the place or he jumps to take the coach or the horse there. Okay, he was looking agitated. Okay, inside he tries to open the door. Okay, he comes to the place that is in, and there he tries to open the door of Griffin's. The coachman who was riding the cart, okay, remember the coachman or the cartman who was riding the cart, his name was Mr. Huckster. The man who was riding the cart was Mr. Huckster. So when Mr. Huckster, okay, he sees standing, he sees that Marvel standing outside, he was smoking as the parlor window opens. Okay, so here, when this huckster was ready to open the door of Griffin, there this Mrs. Hall, okay, she shouts that the room is private. Okay, she shouts that the room is private, and Huckster watches him for a while. And when Marvel suddenly leaves, he dashes after him. Huckster can see that Marvel is holding a blue tablecloth filled with items and three books tied together with what are later discovered to be Bunting's braces. So here, what does Huckster do? Huckster was seeing that Marvel is holding a blue tablecloth filled with items. Okay, see, in the hand of Marvel there was a blue tablecloth. Remember, in the hand of Marvel there was a blue tablecloth. So in the tablecloth, they have kept some items. Okay, and there were three books tied together with what are later discovered to be Bunting's braces. So that tablecloth was consisting of some items. Along with that, there were three books. Okay, and it was tied together with what are later discovered to be Bunting's braces. So those three books, it was later discovered as the Bunting's braces. Huckster shouts, "Stop, thief!" and runs after Marvel, who flees. As Huckster runs through the village festivities, he trips and goes flying into the air. So, what happened here, when Huckster sees that this Marvel, he was carrying books into his hand. I mean, the blue tablecloth. In the blue tablecloth, he has collected everything what he wanted for, what he wanted to give to this. Griffin. Huckster, when he looks at this Thomas Morville, that he is carrying a blue tablecloth which consists of many items, he immediately screams that, "Stop, thief!" and runs after Marvel. When Huckster was running after Marvel, here Marvel he flees, means Marvel run away from the place. As Huckster runs through the village festivities, he trips and goes flying into the air. See, Huckster was following him. Huckster was following this Marvel, but Marvel he flies away into the air and through the whole village. So later, this is the end of 10th chapter. Okay, let's come to the 11th chapter. So in the 11th chapter, the narrator goes back to explain what led up Marvel's flight from the inn. Huckster first saw Marvel at a moment when Cuss and Bunting were discussing the when Huckus and Bunting were discussing the strange events of the morning in Griffin's room. See, it was the same evening when, in the morning, that is 4 o'clock in the morning, Griffin was not there in the inn, and there was at the same time there was the robbery or the burglary at the Vicar H, okay, of Mr. and Mr. Bunting's house. And on the same day itself, Griffin leaves the place or leave the area, and he goes to meet Thomas Marvel. On the same day itself, Thomas Marvel comes to the place called Iping again to get back this Griffin's notes. Okay, so here narrator, okay, or the writer, he goes back to explain what led up Marvel's flight from the inn. Huckster first saw Marvel at a moment when Cuss and Bunting were discussing the strange events of the morning in Griffin's room. Mrs. Hall had given them permission to search Griffin's belongings. Almost immediately after beginning the search, Cuss found three large notebooks labeled as diary. Cuss was initially excited, however, he was disappointed to learn that the entire thing was written in cipher or in code. Cuss concluded that while some of it was mathematical, other parts were written in Russian and Greek. So this makes us to believe and understand that Griffin was well versed in Russian and Greek language. Okay. So in the 11th chapter, the chapter is it all about discusses about Thomas Marvel and the Cuss actions here. The 11th chapter is Coach and the Horses. Here, what happened? The narrator he goes back to explain what led Marvel to come here. And Huckster he first saw that Marvel at a moment when Cuss and Bunting were discussing the strange events of the morning in Griffin's room. Mrs. Hall had given them permission to search Griffin's belongings. So this when this Mrs. Hall was exhausted by his strange actions, he leaves the place. I mean, Griffin leaves the place and he goes away from the place. Then Mrs. Hall, she has given permission for Cuss and Bunting to search the room of Griffin. When Mr. Cuss and Bunting they were searching the room of Griffin, they got some three interesting diaries, okay, large notebooks, okay. So that was initially excited Cuss, okay, and it was convinced that the diary would help them to learn about Griffin's strange personality and his strange things. But it was disappointed to Cuss because it was already written in cipher manner. Cipher means coding manner. Okay, cipher means coding manner. Okay, so here, for example, like if you write bed, okay, the bed where we sleep, in the coding manner, it can be written by 2 pi 4. 2 pi 4. How? When you count the alphabets, okay, the numerically the letter B stands at the figure 2. So B is considered as 2. Okay. E is numerically stands in the number of pi and D stands in the number of 4. So it is 2 pi 4. Okay, 2 pi 4. So instead of writing bet, it has been written as 2 pi 4. So in such a cipher or a coding language, here the Griffin, he has written everything about his experiment. And after that, Cuss concluded that while some of it was written in the mathematical language and other parts were also written in Russian and Greek language. As a vicar, means as a priest, Bunting is supposed to know the Greek, but he has forgotten most of it, and he is embarrassed to admit this. At the at that moment, the door suddenly opened to reveal Marvel, who, on seeing the other men, pretended that he was lost. Marvel closes the door on his way out, and Cuss and Bunting are left alone again. Someone sneaks. The two men discusses whether or not Griffin is really invisible. Cuss suggests that Bunting returns to examining the Greek, and Bunting does so reluctantly. Suddenly, a voice says, "Don't move, little man, or I will brain you both." The voice curses the man for their invasion of privacy. So here, what happens? Cuss and Bunting, they went to the room of Griffin, and they started searching the important materials or any of the clues that they could get, by for the presence or the strange appearance of the strange man. So at the moment, the door was suddenly opened to reveal Marvel, who on seeing the other man pretended that he was lost. Okay, so some two men were already there in the room, and Marvel was very shocked to see them. Marvel closes the door on his way out, and Cuss and Bunting are left alone again. Someone sneaks. Okay, the two men discuss whether or not Griffin is really invisible. Cuss suggests that Bunting returns to examining the Greek. Okay, Cuss suggests that Cuss asks this Bunting that try to learn this Greek, okay, or the Russian Greek very fast, because that will help us to know what this uh, Griffin has written. And Bunting does so reluctantly. Suddenly, a voice says, okay, suddenly, and there was invisible man. He says that don't move, little man, or I will brain you both. The voice curses the man for their invasion of the privacy. The voice of Griffin tells Cuss and Bunting that he has locked the windows and doors. He adds that because he is invisible, he could easily kill them and get away with it, so they should not try any nonsense. Griffin points the fire poker at each of them men's faces and tell them that he can't find his clothes. He says that he needs his clothes, other accommodations, and the three notebooks they are holding. So this is for the end of the 11th chapter. See, when Dr. Cuss and Mr. Bunting they went to the room of Griffin, their Griffin was also there, but he was in the invisible manner. Okay, and he had a doubt and also the fear that they might get his notebooks and they might start experimenting on everything. But the Griffin, showed his smartness because he has written whole book into Russian and Greek language and also some mathematical code language. So this was not making them to open or reveal what was there for Cuss, okay, or what was there for Griffin. Now, Griffin points the fire poker at each of them. Okay, means he went to kill them. Okay, Griffin points the fire poker at each of the men's faces and tells them that he can't find his clothes. He says that he needs his clothes, other accommodation, and three notebooks they are holding. So this is what the end of 11th chapter. What happens we will see in the next class. Are you understanding it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Are you facing any difficulty to understand?
No, ma'am.
No,
Okay,
ma'am.
very good. After completion of each of the chapters here, please read the same chapter in the soft copy. Okay. Today evening, I will share the whole notes. The notes on all the 10 chapter is ready. Start inserting your roll number. Sneha Kittur, are you there? Sneha Kittur.
Yes, ma'am.
On your camera for a second.
Yes, ma'am. Wait.
Huh. Okay, Sneha,
Yes,
how are
ma'am.
you? Sneha, are you following the story every day?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel? What do you feel about the story?
Ma'am, it's good.
It's okay. It's not good.
Yes,
Hmm? Okay. I hope you all have done with the inserting this roll number. Those who have inserted the roll number, you can leave the place.